My fiancé chose his ex over me. My next move shocked him. If you've ever given someone every piece of yourself and watched them hand it back like it wasn't enough, stay with me. Because what I did after my fiancé chose his ex over me is the reason I'm even able to tell you this story with a smile on my face today. 3 weeks before my wedding, I found a hotel receipt in my fiancé's jacket pocket. Not a receipt for a bachelor party. Not a receipt for anything I could explain away. A receipt for a room he booked for two, on a night he told me he was working late at the office. The name on the reservation wasn't mine. It was hers. The woman he swore, on our engagement night, he hadn't spoken to in over a year. But that hotel receipt wasn't even the worst part of this story. What I found out for days later made that receipt look like a parking ticket. And what I did with that information? That's the part he never saw coming. My name's Danny. I'm 34 years old, I live outside Nashville, Tennessee. And 11 months ago, I was the happiest I'd ever been in my life. I want to take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand exactly what I lost before you understand exactly what I built. Act 1, the life I thought I had. I met Grant at a coworker's barbecue in the spring, the kind where somebody's cousin brings a guitar and nobody actually wants to hear him play, but everybody claps anyway. Grant was standing by the cooler in a faded Titans shirt, laughing at something dumb, and when he caught me watching him, he didn't look away. He walked straight over and said, "You look like someone who actually has opinions about barbecue sauce. I need a second opinion on mine." That was Grant. Direct. Warm. The kind of confident that never tipped into arrogant. He was 36, a financial consultant at a firm downtown, the kind of guy who remembered your coffee order after hearing it once and texted good morning even on the mornings we'd just seen each other the night before. My mama liked to say some men are porch light men, the ones who make a house feel like home just by being in it. Grant was a porch light man. Or so I thought. We dated for a year and a half before he proposed on the back deck of his parents' lake house, string lights overhead, his hands shaking so bad he almost dropped the ring in the grass. I said yes before he even finished the sentence. His mama cried. My daddy hugged him so hard he lifted him off the ground. For a while, everything about our life together felt like it was clicking into place exactly how it was supposed to. We found a venue outside of Franklin, with a barn and string lights and a pond out back. I said yes to address that. Made my own mother go quiet, which for her is basically a standing ovation. We picked out furniture for the house we were going to buy after the wedding. We talked about a dog. We talked about kids, eventually, once we'd had at least 1 year of just being married and stupid in love. I had never felt so certain about anything in my life. I want you to hold on to that feeling, because it matters for what comes next. I wasn't a woman who ignored red flags. I wasn't naive. I'd been burned before. Back in my 20s, by a man who cheated and blamed it on me being too busy with work. I had learned to pay attention. And for a year and a half, there was nothing to pay attention to. Grant was consistent. Grant was present. Grant made me believe that the version of love I'd stopped believing in actually existed. Which is exactly why what happened next hit me like a freight train I never even heard coming. Act 2, she came back quiet. It started small. It always starts small. About 4 months before the wedding, Grant mentioned that Paige had reached out. Paige was his ex from college, the one relationship before me that he actually called serious. They'd broken up almost 5 years earlier after. She moved to Chicago for a job, and from what he told me, it ended about as clean as a breakup can end. No cheating, no big blow-up. Just two people who wanted different things in different cities. She's moving back to Nashville, he told me one night over dinner, scrolling his phone like it was nothing. Her mom's sick. She wants to be closer. That's rough, I said, and I meant it. Tell her I'm sorry to hear that. I want you to notice something. My first instinct wasn't jealousy. It was compassion. Because I trusted him. Because 5 years and an engagement ring felt like more than enough distance between him and his past. I was wrong about how much distance actually protects you. Over the next few weeks, Paige's name started showing up more. Paige needed advice on a lease. Paige asked me to help her move a couch. Paige is having a rough time, I told her she could vent to me, hope that's okay. Every single time, I said it was okay. Because what was I supposed to say? That a grown man wasn't allowed to have compassion for someone going through a hard time with a sick parent? I would have felt petty. I would have felt like the insecure fiancé nobody wants to be. That's the trap, though. That's exactly how it's designed to work. Because slowly, and I mean so slowly I almost couldn't track it in real time, Grant started changing. He got quieter at dinner. He started keeping his phone face down on the counter, which he'd never done before. He'd take calls in the garage instead of the living room. When I asked who it was, he'd say, "Work," in a tone that dared me to ask a follow-up question. I remember one night specifically. We were supposed to be finalizing the seating chart for the wedding, sitting at the kitchen table with sticky notes and a bottle of wine, and his phone lit up 4 times in 20 minutes. Each time, he'd glance at it, smile just slightly, and put it face down again. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, it's fine. Work stuff." At 9 at night? "Danny, come on. Don't do this. Don't do this." That phrase became his answer to almost everything. Don't do this, meaning don't ask questions. Don't do this, meaning don't notice what's right in front of you. Don't do this, meaning your instincts are the problem, not my behavior. I want to pause here and tell you something, because if you're watching this and you recognize that phrase in your own relationship, write it down. Don't do this is not an explanation. It's a redirection. It's designed to make you feel like the one causing the tension, instead of the one responding to it. But at the time, I didn't have that clarity. At the time, I just felt crazy. But here's the part that really should have told me everything, and I almost missed it completely. 6 weeks before the wedding, I was helping Grant find his passport for our honeymoon paperwork, digging through the drawer in his nightstand, and I found a birthday card. Not from his mom. Not from a coworker. From Paige. Inside, in her handwriting, it said, "I know timing has never been our thing, but I'm glad you're back in my life, even like this. Love always. Love always. Not, take care. Not, hope you have a great birthday. Love always." I sat on the edge of that bed with that card in my hands for what felt like 10 minutes, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. When Grant walked in and saw what I was holding, his face didn't go pale. It went hard. "You're going through my drawers now?" Not, I can explain. Not, that's not what it looks like. His first move was to make me the villain for finding it. Grant. What is this? It's a card. From a friend. People sign cards like that, Danny, it doesn't mean anything. Love always doesn't mean anything. You're twisting this into something it's not. I remember standing there, card in hand, feeling something shift in my chest that I couldn't name yet. It wasn't quite suspicion. It wasn't quite fear. It was more like the first crack in a foundation you'd built your whole future on top of. I let it go. God help me, I let it go, because the wedding was 6 weeks away and the caterer needed a final head count and my mother had already bought her dress, and some part of me, the part that had spent 1.5 years believing in this man, needed there to be an innocent explanation. 4 days later, I found the hotel receipt. Act 3, the choice he made. I didn't confront him right away. I sat with it for 2 full days, because I needed to be sure I wasn't about to blow up my entire life over something that had an explanation. It didn't have an explanation. I called the hotel directly, gave them the confirmation number, and asked, calm as I could manage, whether the room had 1 bed or 2. The woman on the phone, bless her, had no idea she was about to change my life. 1 king, she said. Checked in together around 8. Together. I sat Grant down that night at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd built a seating chart for a wedding that suddenly felt like it belonged to strangers. I need you to tell me the truth about the Marriott on 3rd Street, I said. And I need you to know I already have the answer. I just want to see if you'll lie to my face. I watched something in him deflate. Not guilt, exactly. More like relief, like a man finally putting down a weight he'd been carrying. I don't know how to explain what's going on with me, he said. Paige and we didn't plan for this to happen. It just did. Being around her again, it's like I remembered who I used to be before I got so serious about everything, before all the wedding stress, before all of this. All of this, I repeated. You mean our life. I love you, Danny. I do. But I don't think I'm the person you need me to be right now. I think I lost myself somewhere in the last year, and being with Paige again, it's like I found a piece of myself I forgot I had. I want you to sit with how insulting that sentence is. He wasn't apologizing for cheating. He was explaining it to me like a personal growth journey I should be proud of him for taking. So you're calling off the wedding, I said. It wasn't a question. I think I need space to figure out who I am. You need space. 3 weeks before our wedding. After booking a hotel room with your ex. He didn't argue with the facts. He just sat there, looking at me like he expected me to fight for him, to cry, to beg him to reconsider, to tell him we could get through this together. I didn't cry in front of him. Not once. I stood up, walked to our bedroom, and started packing a bag, because I realized in that moment I didn't want to spend one more night in a house that suddenly felt like a stranger's. And as I packed, he stood in the doorway and said the thing that told me everything I needed to know about who he really was. You're being really calm about this. Like my composure disturbed him more than my tears would have. Like some part of him wanted me to fall apart, because that would have meant he still had power over me. He didn't get that satisfaction. Word got out fast, the way it always does in a tight-knit circle of friends and family who'd already bought plane tickets for a wedding that wasn't happening. My mother called crying. My best friend Kayla drove 3 hours from Knoxville. The next morning with 2 suitcases, a bottle of wine, and 0 questions asked. She just walked in, hugged me, and said, "Okay. What do you need first? To scream, cry, or eat something?" "All 3, I said. In that order. I canceled the venue. I canceled the caterer. I returned the dress that made my mother cry, and standing in that bridal shop handing it back to the same woman who'd zipped me into it 4 months earlier, something in me finally broke loose, not my composure, but my silence. I cried in that dressing room. For 20 minutes straight, the kind of crying that comes from somewhere so deep it scares you a little. But here's what I want you to understand about that moment, because it matters for everything that came after. I never once called him. I never once texted, "Please, can we talk?" I never once showed up at his office or drove past his apartment or asked mutual friends to check in on him for me. Every part of me wanted to. Every part of me wanted to fight for something I'd spent a year and a half building. But some quieter, steadier part of me, a part one didn't even know I had until that moment, understood something important. Begging someone to choose you doesn't make them choose you. It just makes you smaller in the choosing. Act 4, what I built in the silence. The first 2 weeks were the hardest. I won't pretend otherwise. I'd wake up and reach for my phone out of habit, expecting a good morning text that would never come again. I'd drive past the barn venue and have to pull over because my hands were shaking too hard to keep driving. But somewhere in that second week, I made a decision that ended up changing everything. I decided that if Grant got to reinvent himself with Paige, I was going to reinvent myself too, not for him, not to win him back, but because I deserved a version of my life that wasn't built around waiting for someone else to choose me. I started therapy the 3rd week. My therapist, a woman named Renata with the calmest voice I've ever heard, said something in our second session that I still think about. "You didn't lose him, Danny. You lost the version of him you believed in. Those are 2 very different griefs, and you're allowed to mourn both." I started going to the gym, not to look a certain way for anybody, but because moving my body was the only thing that made the constant static in my head go quiet for an hour at a time. I started small, 3 days a week, nothing intense, and somewhere around month 2, I noticed I wasn't just stronger physically. I felt like I was reclaiming territory in my own life, 1 rep at a time. I cut my hair. Not out of some dramatic breakup impulse, but because I'd been growing it out for the wedding and I realized I didn't actually like it that long. I'd been growing it for a version of myself that belonged to someone else's vision of a bride. I donated the length to a kids' cancer charity, and something about that felt like the first real exhale I'd had in months. I called Kayla and 2 other friends I'd let drift during the whole wedding planning whirlwind, because let's be honest, when you're engaged, you disappear into your relationship a little, and I disappeared more than I realized. We started doing Sunday dinners again, rotating houses, nothing fancy. Just people who loved me, reminding me who I was outside of being somebody's fiancé. At work, something shifted too. I threw myself into a rebrand campaign I'd been putting off for months, the kind of project that requires you to actually be present, actually be sharp. My boss noticed. 3 months after the breakup, I got promoted to senior marketing manager, with a raise that finally made buying my own place feel possible instead of just a someday dream. I want to be clear about something, because this part matters. None of this was revenge. I wasn't doing any of it to prove something to Grant. Most days, I genuinely wasn't thinking about him at all. I was too busy rebuilding a life that finally felt like mine. But small-town Nashville circles talk, and words started trickling back to me. Anyway. Act 5, The Things I Heard. About 4 months after the breakup, Kayla called me on a Tuesday night, and I could hear it in her voice before she even said anything. Okay, don't shoot the messenger, but I ran into Brittany from your old office and she told me some stuff about Grant and Paige. I'm listening, I said, and I meant it. Not with dread. With something closer to curiosity. Apparently, the fairy tale reunion hadn't gone the way Grant expected. Paige, it turned out, wasn't the free-spirited, uncomplicated relief from wedding stress he'd painted her as. She was demanding, jealous, and according to Brittany, had already accused Grant of still being hung up on me multiple times. Ironic, considering she was the one who inserted herself into an engagement. She didn't like his friends. She didn't like his schedule. She wanted him present in a way that started to mirror the exact dynamic he'd complained about with me, except worse, because now there was no trust underneath it to soften the edges. Word was they'd already broken up once and gotten back together twice. I felt something when I heard that, and I want to be honest with you about what it was, because I think it's important. It wasn't joy, exactly. It wasn't the satisfied kind of karma people love to see in these stories. It was more like quiet confirmation, the universe handing me proof that I hadn't been the problem all along. My life, meanwhile, kept moving forward in a way that felt almost unfair in how good it was getting. I bought my first solo car without needing anyone's opinion on the color. I took a girls' trip to the coast with Kayla and 2 friends from the gym, and I posted a picture on the beach that I didn't overthink for once. No caption trying to prove anything, just me, smiling, actually meaning it. 6 months out, I ran into Grant at a coffee shop near my office. I hadn't seen him since the night I packed my bag. He looked tired in a way I didn't recognize on him, the kind of tired that comes from the inside out, not from lack of sleep. Danny. Hey. You look really good. Thanks, I said, and I meant it as simply as it sounded, not as an opening for more conversation. How's everything? He asked, and I could hear something underneath the question, something hungry for information he didn't have the right to ask for anymore. Really good, actually, I said. Take care, Grant. I walked out of that coffee shop without looking back, and I remember getting in my car and just sitting there for a second, not crying, not shaking, just noticing, almost like watching myself from the outside, how calm I felt. 6 months earlier, running into him would have wrecked my whole week. That day, it barely dented my afternoon. Act 6, The Move He Never Saw Coming. Around the 8-month mark, 2 things happened in the same week that changed the entire trajectory of my life. The first was a job offer. My company was opening a new regional office in Austin, and my boss put my name forward to lead the marketing team there. A director-level position, more money than I'd ever made in my life, and a fresh city where nobody knew me as the woman whose wedding fell apart. The second was a condo. I'd been quietly saving and looking at listings for a few months, almost as a hobby, a way of picturing a future that belonged entirely to me. And that week, a place came on the market outside Nashville. Not Austin, this was before I said yes to the job. 3 bedrooms, a porch, That caught the evening light just right, exactly the kind of house I used to picture Grant and me buying after the wedding. I remember standing in that empty living room during the walkthrough, sunlight coming through the big front window, and thinking, I don't need him to have this life. I can just have it. I put in an offer on the condo the same week I got the Austin offer, and I made a decision that surprised even me. I turned down Austin. Not because I was scared to leave, but because for the first time in almost a year, I actually wanted to stay somewhere, build something, plant roots on purpose instead of by default. I bought the condo instead. I signed the papers alone, at a little table with a notary who had no idea she was witnessing the closing chapter of someone rebuilding her entire life from scratch. 2 weeks after I moved in, my business idea, something I'd been sketching out for months, a marketing consulting side business for small local brands, landed its first paying client. Within 2 months, it had 4. That's when Grant showed up. He texted first, something simple. I heard you bought a place. Can we talk sometime? I miss you, Danny. I stared at that text for a long time before I responded. Not because I was tempted. Because I wanted to make sure whatever I said next came from a clear place, not a reactive one. I agreed to meet him for coffee, mostly out of curiosity, and because I wanted to close this chapter with my own hands instead of leaving it open by accident. He looked different when he walked in. Thinner. Older around the eyes. He sat down across from me and didn't waste time. Paige and I broke up for good a few weeks ago, he said. I've been doing a lot of thinking about you, about us, about what I threw away. Okay, I said, calm, sipping my coffee. I made the biggest mistake of my life, Danny. I know that now. I was confused. I got caught up in something that felt exciting because it was new, and I let it cost me the best thing I ever had. I want another chance. I know I don't deserve one, but I'm asking anyway. I sat there for a second, and I want to tell you honestly, there was a version of me, 11 months earlier, who would have melted at those words. Who would have seen this as the moment she'd been secretly hoping for, the fairy tale reversal, where he comes crawling back and realizes what he lost. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. I'd spent almost a year building someone new, someone who didn't need his apology to feel whole. Grant, I said, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. But I need you to understand something. You didn't lose me because Paige came back into your life. You lost me the moment you decided that keeping a secret felt easier than being honest. That was a choice. Every single text, every hotel room, every don't do this when I asked a fair question, those were all choices. And I've spent almost a year making my own choices, and every single one of them has led me somewhere better than where you left me. I know I hurt you. You didn't just hurt me. You made me question whether I was crazy for trusting my own instincts. And it took me months to get that trust back. I'm not giving you the chance to take it again. He looked at me like he genuinely hadn't considered the possibility that I'd say no. Like some part of him had built a whole narrative where I'd been sitting at home for 11 months waiting for exactly this moment. So that's it? There's no chance for us? There's no us to have a chance, I said, gently, but without wavering. I built a life without you in it, Grant. A good one. I'm not tearing it down to make room for someone who only wants me back now that his other option ran out. I stood up, left cash on the table for my coffee, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry in the parking lot. I got in my car, drove home to the condo with the porch that catches the evening light just right, and made myself dinner in a kitchen that belonged entirely to me. The lesson I learned. I think about that year a lot, especially now, almost a year removed from that coffee shop conversation. And here's what I've come to understand. Grant didn't just choose his ex over me. He handed me, without meaning to, the exact permission I needed to choose myself. And once I did that, really did that, not as a performance, not as bait to lure him back, but as a genuine decision to become someone I respected, everything else followed. The gym, the promotion, the condo, the business. None of that was revenge. It was just what happens when you stop waiting for someone else's validation to start living. If you're going through something like this right now, if someone made you feel like an option instead of a choice, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to beg anyone to stay. You don't have to shrink yourself down to fit into a love that keeps leaving room for someone else. The most powerful thing you can do isn't winning them back. It's building a life so full, so genuinely yours, that when they finally do come back around, you realize you don't need them to complete it. I didn't get my fairy tale wedding, but I got something better. I got myself back. And honestly, that's the only person I ever needed to choose me in the first place.